Good afternoon.
Hello.
Good day. Perfect. We will wait. We will wait 1.5 more minutes, just to let everybody go in. We see the numbers rising. Come on, we want number 70 in, please. One more. We have 2 more in the waiting room. Perfect. Okay, then. We're all ready?
Yeah.
Perfect. So I would like to welcome everybody. We are very, very excited to be here with all of you today. My name is Michal Rimon, and I always introduce myself as the proud CEO of Access Israel. I'm always stressing that's my good luck charm. I always open conferences by saying that I'm proud of my organization, the projects we do, the achievements we have accomplished throughout the years, but most of all, the people. The people, our employees, our volunteers, our partners in Israel and all over the world, and hopefully everybody here can join this partnership and be part of this amazing network. Access Israel is a nonprofit organization that tries to make Israel accessible and inclusive for people with disabilities and the elderly in Israel. And we are very excited for the cooperation with Myanmar for this webinar, and specifically to cooperate with you, Ambassador Ronen Gilor, the Israeli ambassador to Myanmar, who I must tell you, Ronen, Ambassador Gilor, is from the beginning when we were first introduced, he recognized the importance and the relevance of accessibility and inclusion in Israel and globally, and he has been one of our really greatest supporters in our path to fulfill the goal of global cooperation, sharing information, knowledge, and basically creating this Access Israel global network. So thank you, Ambassador. And if we are starting with thank you, then it's a good time to thank everyone that helped make this webinar happen. Thank you to Vicky Bowman, the Director of Myanmar Center for Responsible Business. Thank you for Maya for all the help in organizing this. Thank you for the Myanmar Israel Chamber of Commerce and Industry and everyone else who helped. It's an honor also to have here Dufyon Kati Nine with us, a member of the parliament, the lower house representing Kalau. Thank you also to Nir Brand, who you will meet later on in the next hour and a half. He is going to give us a surprise musical performance that will be interpreted by our sign language interpreter. I don't know if you ever saw music and signs, but that's what you're going to experience today, just to make sure that everybody can enjoy it. And thank you, Ambassador, for organizing this. Israel and Myanmar have a long friendship that started in 1953, when the two countries started the diplomatic relations. In the last 67 years, Myanmar and Israel have worked together in many fields: agriculture, health, education, and we are very happy today to mark the beginning maybe of a cooperation of Israel and Myanmar also in the field of accessibility and inclusion. We are happy to share with you all what we have learned and done in the last 20 years. And I am very eager and very excited to learn from you what has been done in Myanmar. I can tell you that just from the preparation conversations that we had, we already see so much potential to mutual learning and mutual growing in this subject. We are true believers in the importance of working together, sharing information, in this field of accessibility and inclusion. People with disabilities are the biggest minority in the world, and it's an issue that concerns every country around the world. Accessibility and inclusion is non-political, non-controversial topic, and it goes beyond borders, religion, political affiliation. And during these times, I must say that it reminds me of something. You know, COVID-19 is exactly the same. No borders, Doesn't matter what religion you are, what race you are, which country you're in, we're all facing the same thing. COVID-19 has become a major part of our lives, showing us all how we are all interconnected. The pandemic has been especially challenging for people with disabilities and the elderly. However, if we can look at the bright side of things, it has also shown us that many things, and this is something that I'm requoting all the time from Caroline. Caroline, you said it at the beginning of the pandemic, and that's my mantra. You know, things that we have been told for years we cannot do. All of a sudden, that everybody now is in quarantine, everybody is working from home, communicating from remotely. So many things that in the past were said that it's not possible to do, all of a sudden we found solutions to do it. So now everybody can enjoy it. For example, in this subject of today's webinar, employment, remote employment has suddenly become possible. And this is the solutions and the challenges that we're going to talk about today. Now, Access Israel has been invited all over the world to share knowledge, experience, challenges, and methodology developed to overcome such challenges. Now, as I said, we understood that the global issue is relevant to all of us, and that no matter where we go, whether it's developing country, developed countries, countries that are saying that, you know, they are leaders in accessibility, or those who think they are not, we can learn from everyone. Each player in the field contributes their unique angle, and together we make it a much better picture. Now, Myanmar is an emerging market that is going through exciting development. And from our preparation meetings with the leaders of this webinar, we are happy to see the understanding of the importance of the issue of inclusion, accessibility, and the desire to learn, share, and basically put this topic
there are still
on
noise
the topic.
outside. We need until 2:25 the noise. Yeah.
Okay. We understood that in Myanmar each year and in each region and state, there are more and more active NGOs investing efforts on people with disabilities. The government and private sector follow. One of the points we will later discuss is that to ensure fulfilling the full potential of the economy, both in the workforce and in the general marketplace, people with disabilities cannot be ignored. An accessible and inclusive business is a more profitable one. We believe that it is important whenever possible to make accessibility part of the DNA of the organizations. And this is what we're going to discuss today. So let us dive into this webinar and start sharing, start learning, and make sure that our futures leave no one behind. I would like to invite for opening remarks, Ambassador of Israel to Myanmar, Ambassador Ronen Gilor, please.
Minglaba, Chanoname Ronen Gilor, Israel Tamajiba. My name is Ronen Gilor, and I'm the Israeli ambassador in Myanmar. Inclusion of people with disabilities is surely one of the global most significant human values. In the Jewish Bible, we say, love your neighbor as thyself. Is there a more important neighbor than a person with disabilities? It is the first arrival of Access Israel to Myanmar. So important for an emerging market, as you just said, Michal, that would like the market, the emerging market, to gain and to demonstrate responsibility for people with disabilities. I would like to thank the founder of Access Israel, Mr. Yuval Wagner, co-founder Mr. Rani Binyamini, CEO Ms. Michal Rimon, that we all know now, and the organizer of this webinar from your side, Ms. Sharon Kessler. I have a special privilege today to warmly welcome to our webinar, member of the Union Parliament from Kalor, Shan State, Do Pion Katinang, a prominent and very active parliamentarian leader in this country, and a good friend of the Embassy of Israel, alumni of Israel Mashav. In Myanmar, in every region or state, there are more and more efficient NGOs investing efforts with persons with disabilities. The government and the private sector follow. In a previous job in Israel, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Human Rights and International Organization, I've discovered this beautiful arena. I met Access Israel and many other NGOs alike. Israel has a special human rights commission vis-a-vis CRPD, the United Nations Convention for the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. Since then, we have a great journey together, Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Access Israel, that became to be also a consultant to the United Nations, ECOSOC, and all the other bodies of UN. Let me also praise my partners at Myanmar Center of Responsible Business, Ms. Vicky Baumann, Ms. Maya Muller, as well as all my embassy team and all other contributors to this webinar. You are going to gain so much values and best practices today, and I wish you a great webinar. Gesù te mare.
Thank you very much. And now I would like to introduce Dofyon Katina.
It appears you are on mute.
Mikhail, you're muted.
Oops. Now you hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you. So I won't prolong this. Ambassador Gilor made the thanks and the introduction, and I would love to introduce Dofyon Kati 9, member of the parliament. Thank you very much. We would love to hear what you have to say.
Thank you, Shannon. It's my privilege to be part of this very valuable and meaningful webinar, the business case for employing people with disabilities. Of course, not only in Myanmar, but also globally, many people with disabilities cannot access health services, education, and employment opportunities. So this is for a country like Myanmar, developing countries with many challenges ahead, is our challenges for people with disabilities is much more greater than the developed nation like Israel, of course. So I'm very much happy to be part of this webinar. And in Myanmar, our 2008 Constitution of the Republic of the Union of Myanmar states that the union shall care for the mothers and children, orphans, fallen defense services personnel's children, the aged and disabled. And the government, of course, have been trying very hard, and they try to enact the law of the rights of persons with disabilities, which is the legal framework to enact United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons Living with Disabilities in 2015. And the government, the Ministry of Social Welfare, Relief and Resettlement have been trying very hard to put all the people living with disability on track to be able to access each of every rights that they should enjoy, like education, healthcare services, and of course, employment. But still, there are so much to be done to fulfill the needs of the disabled citizen in Myanmar. According to 2014 census report, information collected only relates to the 4 of the 6 types of disability domains by the Washington Group on Disability Statistic, so namely seeing, hearing, walking, and remembering or concentrating. There are 2.3 million persons, that was 4.6% of total population, who reported some degree of difficulty with either one or more of those 4 functional domains out of our total population, 50.3 million people. And over 500,000, that was 1% as a whole, reported having moderate disabilities in country. So among persons with a disability, the illiteracy rate is also much greater than that of without disability. with limited or no education, participation in the labor market is challenging. It's the greatest challenge for many persons in Myanmar with disabilities. So today, your webinar, and for me, thank you so much for Access Israel. You all guys are showing your effort is to push for disability inclusive development in Myanmar, collaborating with Israel-Myanmar Chambers and Commerce, newly founded by Ambassador. I'm very much happy to be part of this webinar. And of course, I'm very much earnestly looking forward to seeing what shall the webinar will provide me, the clues that I can think on, and to put the recommendations the webinar provided me to my parliamentary platform, of course, to the executive decision-making platform. Because to promote, to protect, and to ensure the full and equal employment of all human rights and fundamental freedoms by all persons with disabilities, and to promote respect for their inherent dignity is the core responsibility for those who are disabled, those who are stand steadily on the business arena as well. So thank you so much for inviting me to the webinar. Thank you, Vicky, for being Kalaw citizen, quite close to me here today, for your responsible business awareness sharing and empowering the businesses in Myanmar. That is the two things that we could put parallel to make our businesses to become the responsible one, put all the disabled onto the track of the employment opportunities to reach out each of every people with disability in country. It will reduce the social burden for those who are taking care on their own. Almost those who try to help the disabilities are facing the problem of poverty as well. Each of every household, those who are taking care of person with disabilities. This group of people sitting in this webinar could find a practical approach and practical solution to help those who are taking care practically on their own in our country. So it's for me, very important task for my political journey as well. I'm always there to put forward to help you guys all, because I'm hoping Israel could provide me with very practical approach, practical resolution, practical solution, and practical collaboration to make all the ideas and theories to be the practical implementation in near future. Thank you so very much in the bottom of my heart. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
We promise, Dopio. Yeah.
Yeah. And I can add and tell you two things. First of all, the best thing I can tell you right now at the beginning of the webinar is that this is not a sprint, this is a marathon. For me, it's just the beginning. And I know many from Myanmar that are participating here have already started, each in their own pace. And the idea is to really create this wave that will be also visible and affect, like a ripple effect for the rest of businesses in Myanmar, and we are here together to make that happen. And the fact that you are here is already the first step that I have no doubt will help push to that direction, so appreciate it very much. I am very, very happy and honored to introduce our next opening remark by our partner here, Vicky Baumann, the director of the Myanmar Center for Responsible Business, MCRB. Vicky, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Michelle. Thank you to all the speakers. So if there's some background noise, I apologize. As Dorpyeong KT9 said, we're both here in Kalaw, which is a bustling and quite unlocked down city, and a truck has just come outside my window. Oh, sorry. So I hope you can hear me. I think this collaboration with the Israeli embassy started about 2.5 years ago, when I met Ronan at one of the genocide concerts that he organizes each year. And I said to him, you know, is anything that we can learn from Israel's experience on helping people with disabilities into work? And I'm very glad that he didn't forget that. And he came back with this idea and introduced us to Access Israel and the Chamber. So it's great that we're having this. I think it's our first MCRB transcontinental webinar. And I'm so glad, Michal, that you and your organization organized the logistics for it, because it's quite a achievement to have all this language, sign language captioning, and so on. We started working on this issue of disability and inclusive business back in 2014, when shortly after we started, we were approached by the Myanmar Deaf Community Association, who asked us if they could help, if we could help to connect them to more employers, to help to get more of their network into jobs. And we also agreed at that point that we would produce some Burmese language material. We translated a handbook which had come from the EU. It was called CSRD, CSR Disability. But in doing that, it was very timely, but we realized that actually we needed to produce material and share examples which were fitting to the Myanmar context. And above all, what we needed was inspiration from companies in Myanmar, whether that's Myanmar companies themselves or foreign investors. So that was when we started collaborating with the ILO, the International Labour Organization. And we have, with them and also with other partners like AAR Japan, we've held a couple of multi-stakeholder forums, which have been an opportunity to bring together the government side, the Ministry of Social Welfare, but not just them, also the Ministry of Education, Transport, and so on. But also we have brought together businesses who really do want to employ and include more persons with disabilities in their workforce as customers, but have been struggling to work out how. And we have connected them to disabled people's organizations who have been doing training, vocational training and so on, but then not known where to go on to next. So it was great. Just the other day, I was sent an email by one of our partners to say that from one of those forums that we had in 2017, that had led to a partnership with the biggest brewery, who had partnered with a vocational training school for persons with disabilities, which had then led to internships into the brewery, where the students who'd gone through ICT training had then gone off to work for one of the biggest employers in Myanmar. So that's really good to see practical changes taking place as a result of these connections. We published in 2019 on International Day, 2018 on International Day of Persons with Disabilities, a bilingual handbook. And that contains lots of really good examples from Myanmar companies, particularly the banks. KBZ Bank has been a leader in this. Apex Bank has also been very good. And then we've had a number of the international hotels in particular who have gone out of their way to bring in persons with disabilities throughout the hotel, including at the front desk, including in housekeeping. And they've been drawing on their international experience, companies like Accor. But we've also seen companies who we're going to be hearing from today on the panel, like Blue Ocean, who are purely Myanmar companies and for whom this has been something where they've wanted to be the pioneer. So what we're hoping from this webinar is that we will see those pioneers from Myanmar sharing their experience. We will hear from some of the international experts on this, and that will give more inspiration, both to the businesses on this webinar, but also to the DPO representatives, the persons with disabilities, so that they can go out and they will be able to make the case that they are fully capable to enter into the workplace. They just need the businesses to make it possible for them to join and for them to show their capability. So thank you very much for allowing us to have this opportunity for this excellent Myanmar-Israel sharing. Back to you.
Thank you very, very much. And I can't wait to hear everything that all the speakers that you just mentioned. I will just say two notes. One, in the chat, there is explanation on the accessibility of this webinar. Please note, whoever has not seen an accessible webinar, the idea is that everybody should be able to follow, whether you need sign language, whether you need captioning. By the way, captioning is not only for those who cannot hear or cannot understand maybe the language, it's also for people with learning disability or people who can be distracted easily. So this will be able to help you stay intact and get back to us as soon as you can. If you have any questions, any problems, please feel free to chat with Sharon Kessler in the chat, and she will make sure to help you if you have any problems. Another thing that is important for me to share with you, in many conferences today, in panels and webinars around the world, you see the format of a panel. You see those 1, 2, 5 panelists in clear view, and all the participants are basically not part of what you see on the screen. Here, intentionally, we have you all with us. We see you, we look at you. You are part of this amazing initiative, and it is not, there's a reason for it. The idea is that this is supposed to be a webinar that will bring your input and your feeling of part of this amazing journey. So with that note, I would love to introduce my dear, dear friend and inspiration, Caroline Casey, the founder and creator of the Valuable 500. Caroline, I'm gonna let you tell more about the organization, please.
Good morning, everyone. I'm speaking from Dublin, Ireland, and I'm very aware of the privilege that I speak English and everybody's speaking English here, and I just want to say thank you, and I apologize that I have no Burmese, so I'm very sorry, but good morning, it comes from my heart. I want to start by acknowledging the leadership of everybody here today, particularly to the ambassador and to our friends in Access Israel. You know, 20 years ago, I would never have believed I would be having a Zoom call about this work, but I would never have believed I would have been speaking about this topic. This issue about disability business inclusion is personal, not just to me, but to everyone. It is also incredibly important to the growth of our societies and to the professional growth of our businesses. We are at an inflection point in our world. This pandemic has really shook us up all over the world. And it is not an equalizer. We know that. It has blown open the injustice and inequity in our world. And it has hurt all of us very deeply. However, it is also a great moment for all of us. And that is why this webinar is so important. As Mikhail has said, this is a long journey forward, not just for the inclusion of people with disabilities, for inclusive business, and for our inclusive countries. It is for everyone. None of us have a right to judge right now what country, what company, what person is getting this more right than anybody else. Because nobody is. Nobody is. So this is a moment that we have to, as Mikhail says, to collaborate, to find a way for each of us to join so that we can create a world where no one gets out. Societies that will thrive on the potential of everyone. One of my favorite singers is a man called Leonard Cohen, who died in 2016. His song Anthem has this beautiful line, "It's the cracks where the light gets in." And that is where I think we are today, this global moment, this breakdown to a breakthrough. So the timing of your webinar could not be better. The openness of all of us to share together, regardless of where we are, is the magic moment. Listening to Vicky speak about responsible business and the fact that she was considering this as right back in 2014 gives me such energy and hope. We all are here at this moment, and the best thing that I can say to you, all of you, from this webinar is invitation to ask. It is okay that you don't know everything. It is not okay that we do nothing. Why this is personal to me is I am registered blind. 20 years ago, I finally disclosed and came out into public about my vision impairment. I have been registered blind since I was born, but my parents did not tell me. They brought me up as a sighted child because they were fearful of the world that would treat me badly if I was to tell them I had a disability. Thankfully, the world is changing. At 17, I discovered that I had this condition, and then I hid it for 20 years. I'm going to give you 3 pieces of data. 7% of our CEOs and leaders in business have a disability like I do. 4 out of 5 of them are hiding it today. That is 20 years on from the day I did. That shows you that still the fear exists and the habits exist. And the great news about habits is they can change. The great news is we can create worlds where all of us get to be ourselves. The second really important statistic for you to know is 50% of our global companies at leadership level have never had a conversation about disability. So you're already doing better. It's a good place to start. What we talk about, we can do something about. And when we don't speak about it, we can't. The Valuable 500, the organization I set up, was launched at the World Economic Forum in 2019 with one of the most probably famous CEOs of the time, a man called Paul Polman. He was the CEO of Unilever, and he's the CEO that led the movement around sustainable business, to which Vicky would know very well. And that is looking about responsible business and purpose-driven business, looking at how business can serve all of its stakeholders, not just its shareholders. And by doing that, the business becomes more successful. Everybody thought this man, Paul Polman, was crazy, but he is our chairman. They thought I was crazy because the Valuable 500, when it was launched, was a campaign to find 500 of the world's most intentional companies, responsible businesses with their leaders, to put disability on their leadership agenda, to equally include disability. No more. It didn't cost a company money. It cost a company intention. It asked the leader to use its head and its heart, because business is about human beings. Customers, suppliers, talent, it's about humans. And that's what this is about, intention. It didn't matter whether a company had done nothing, had done something, or was leading. It was about making the leader aware. We have leadership on this call. We've heard it from our other speakers. What leaders put their time and attention to, the rest of us follow. In the shadow and the light of a leader. Leaders make choices. Those choices create cultures, politically, in business, in not-for-profits. So the Valuable 500 truly believed and does, if we do not have business leadership, we cannot create inclusive and responsible business. And I'm sure Vicky will agree. Disability has been on the sidelines of business for far too long. 90% of our global companies claim they are passionate about inclusion, and only 4% of them consider disability. Well, I don't know about you, but that sounds like a delusion to me. That is not inclusion. There are 1.3 billion people in the world who have a disability. With a mother and a father, that is 73% of our global population. They say we're the biggest minority group in the world. I don't know, is 15% of our global population minority? I think it's a pretty big group. The other issue is that disability, as Michael said, will touch every single one of our lives. Disability does not discriminate. 80% of the 1.3 billion people in the world who have a disability is acquired between the ages of 18 and 64. As we grow older, all of us will find our way into this global family. So why, when every one of us has an experience of disability, has it been on the sidelines of business? Well, in the Valuable 500, we believe because we have not been able to convince the leaders yet. The scale of the inequality crisis facing disability is simply too large and profound for governments and conventions and charity and not-for-profits to do on their own. We need inclusive and responsible business. Inclusive business creates inclusive societies with our policymakers. The crisis is so large that it affects our economies. Exclusion costs us. It costs our countries. It cost the OECD countries 7% before the pandemic. 90% of our children with a disability do not get into a classroom. You are 50% more likely to experience poverty and not have a job if you have a disability. It's a big crisis. However, there is an extraordinary opportunity. We are not asking business to become involved in this because it's worthy or it's good. It is very important. As I said, inclusive business creates inclusive society, but it is essential for business now. It is essential because that 1.3 billion people with a mother and a father, which is 73% of the global consumer base, is worth $8 trillion. Now, what business turns its back on that market? It is also a great source of innovation and insight and talent and growth. Today, we're speaking about the employment of people with disabilities. And employment is just hard for business anyway. And I can imagine business going, what, how, where? None of us have the right to force a business to employ groups of people if they do not understand the link to value. The reason that we're trying through the Valuable 500 to open our minds to a different way forward, exactly like Access Israel is employment of people with disabilities. You need to see the link to the value of this market, not just of people with disabilities, but of their parents, for the customers that we speak to, but of the insight and the innovation as our world changes. Did you know the remote control was designed for blind people watching television? I can't even see a television, but that's what was done, and we all use a remote control. That is accessibility, universal design. Did you know that text messaging on our phones was designed for hearing impaired? And we all use it. Before we force businesses to employ people with disabilities, we must as a society see the value and how that insight and intelligence being brought into our companies improves our culture, the customer experience, the attraction and retention of talent. But we need to do this in safety. Michael has said this. We're all just beginning. This is not a sprint. I'm not even sure it's a marathon. I think this is a long-lasting journey, not just for the inclusion of people with disabilities, but for everyone. So with the Valuable 500, we decided if we got 500 of the world's leaders, intentional leaders, to put disability on their leadership agenda, have a conversation, make a commitment to action, and communicate that action to their employees and to the public, we could help, right? We could create this community of change globally, because all of our experiences are so different. Different industries, different countries, different ideas, different culture. But together, if we created this community, we could change this. We could change it. I proudly stand here today to say, and my voice shakes because I'm emotional. I was the woman that everybody told or said was crazy because disability could never be on the leadership agenda and we could never get CEOs. But today we have 352 CEOs and leaders and companies around the world, globally, from Japan to South America, to Brazil, to Kenya, to America, to Israel. Well, I'll tell you what, Access Israel, if ever you have a better partner, Access Israel brought us 45 companies. This is the partner that you need. And you know what's so exciting? With intention and with heads and with hearts, we will have only 142 membership places left in the Valuable 500 because of the unprecedented success of this community, which was driven by the heads and the hearts and the intentions and hugely amplified by COVID, because business now know they're going to get ahead in community. They're not leaving disability to the side. They will pioneer on a way forward for differentiation and not be caught. In next year, we will be launching phase 2 of the Valuable 500, where all of our members together will do this radical historic change and drive system change in our global business together. Together, we will work on changing our businesses, sharing best practice, working together with the ILO, the World Bank, the World Health Organization, 500 companies, what we think will be 20 million employees, and a lot of energy. I want to finish by saying 3 things that I have learned in this. Will you be kind to yourselves as we try? As I said at the beginning, there is no wrong except to do nothing. Be patient with ourselves. Share. The biggest thing about stopping us doing this is fear. It's okay. We're innovating and we're going to fail. It's really all right. Number 2 is please continue to collaborate. And don't be frightened to say the things that you are asking in your head, because if you don't ask them, we're not going to fix them. Use this amazing network that's just begun. Access Israel has created this global family and network who are only dying to help. We all want to help you. Make this better. Let's be this inclusion revolution for all of us. And thirdly, for any business leader out there, of course, I'm going to say to you, join the Valuable 500 family. Join this unique community, because next year we can help you together in our system go forward. And very lastly, thank you for having an Irish person sit here this morning. I have been to Myanmar many years ago, and I hope to come back. And just love and respect to everybody. I do think this is our moment. Let's make the very best of it, because we can. COVID has shown us the system can change when it wants to, when it has leadership and heart. Thank you.
Thank you so much, as always. If we can unmute whoever is not muted. Caroline, I want to be practical, because I am such a true believer of the Valuable 500. And we have here already 85 people, many of them representing amazing businesses in Myanmar. Can we be more specific? I know that to join the Valuable 500, all you need to do is the CEO to sign a declaration saying, yes, we understand this is on the agenda. We are committed. What are the company profiles that you are looking for?
So we are looking for any company that has over 1,000 employees. It doesn't matter if it's 1,000 employees in Myanmar or connected to the rest of the world, 1,000 employees. needs to be private sector, so it can't come from government. What we're asking the companies to do is for the CEO to have their honorable commitment and sign an action to commitment. So whatever the commitment is, please go onto the Valuable 500 website and you'll see the types of commitments. Some commitments simply are as small as coming onto this webinar, bringing in companies like Access Israel to discuss it, talking to other organizations. Big companies do big actions, but every action counts. And the most important piece then is whatever your action to commitment is, you share it with your employees and you share it publicly. That commitment brings you within the community. And then next year within the community, we work with companies like Access Israel all around the world and help your organizations on the journey with your leadership, your culture, and your brands, reporting, research, and representation. So we will share best practice together in that community. But for now, to join, you go onto the Valuable 500 website and work on what commitment is important to you. And it doesn't matter how small, medium, or large it is. It just needs to be a leadership commitment.
Thank you very much. And I'm crossing my fingers, and we are here to answer any questions you have regarding this process. As Caroline said, we have 45 companies in Israel joining and more to come. And at 500, it's going to close. So
30th of January, we are closing
okay.
Because the community is for 500. That's it.
So no pressure. No pressure, guys. No pressure. Time is clicking, and we should definitely do an effort, make an effort to include Myanmar businesses as well. So thank you so much, Caroline. I'm really moved, as always, from what you say. Now, the next presenter is me. The reason I'm here presenting is because, you know, when we were looking over the people participating in this webinar, we saw some people that Vicky and the ambassador said they're amazing, they do amazing things, they are aware, they know, but others that are new to this subject. And one of the things when we are forming this community, one of the things that are very important is to make sure that we are on the same level in at least terminology, that we know what we're talking about. I'll give you an example. Even the definition of a person with disability, I'm not sure we all know and are talking about the same definition. So it was important for me to just take a couple of minutes and really make sure we are on the same page. If you can upload the presentation, thank you. So what I want to do is we are going to basically focus on really a couple of terminology. The first terminology is going to be, as I said, what it is, a person with disability, what is accessibility, the uniqueness of Israeli law, inclusion, the mere terminology of inclusion, and specifically inclusive employment. While my presentation is being uploaded, I will just tell you that, as we mentioned, I am the CEO of Access Israel, but accessibility is just a means to an end. It is not the goal of Access Israel. The goal of Access Israel is inclusion, is true inclusion, improving the way of the quality of life of people with disabilities in Israel, all disabilities in all areas of life, so people can be integrated into society with dignity, respect, equality, rights, and a high level of independence. Now, I can tell you that when Access Israel was established, it was 21 years ago in an Israel that was not accessible. You know, here and there was a building that was accessible because the owner knew somebody and you know, had a family member, so he was very sensitive, but it wasn't something that was throughout the country. And people, including Yuval Wagner, who you will meet at the end of this webinar, and who established Access Israel. Yuval was a son of a father in a wheelchair, and he spent his childhood picking his father up and down stairs because that was the reality we were living in. I can tell you that many people, and probably including me if I was in that position, would rather stay at home and not be picked up and down. And that's how we find many people 20 years ago and even afterwards spending even decades in their houses, coming out only with ambulances for medical treatment and not being part of the society. Now, Yuval himself got injured in a helicopter crash and found himself with an even more severe disability than his father, and again in an Israel that was not accessible. And what he did 21 years ago is basically write a letter to the president of Israel, Ezer Weizmann, and say, what else do I have to give my country in order to get respect, basic respect? And to make a long story short, the president of Israel got back to him and basically said, we apologize for not doing more. Please don't talk, do. Establish an NGO and make a difference. And in 6 months, let's launch the NGO at the presidential residence in Israel. This is how we started. We started very small. We thought we are starting only with a focus on physical accessibility, which I will elaborate in a second. And today we know that Yuval thought he's going to close the NGO 5 years after it was established because, you know, it's just 5 years and we'll get things done and that's it. Today we know it's an ongoing process. Now, people with disability. This definition of a person with disability, in Israel, I can tell you that we are talking about 18% of the population, 1,600,000 people with disabilities, all types of disabilities. We're talking about physical disabilities, hearing disabilities, visual, mental, cognitive, communicational. The idea is, I always say in my presentations, think about, you know, the 10 fingers that we have in our hands. When you look at the law in Israel, at the definition of people with disabilities, if I had my little finger chopped off, it would be, you know, frustrating maybe paying for 10 fingers in manicure and getting only 9, but it's not really something that will really affect my life, unless, for example, I'm a pianist and then I need all 10 fingers to play the piano. But if the same thing will happen to my thumb, all of a sudden, basic things at work, basic things at home, basic tools, you know, opening a can even, is something that you're not able to do when the same thing, a finger is missing, but this finger creates a different effect than the little finger. That's the difference of the terminology of a person with disability. In Israeli law, in order to be included in the definition by law, you have to have a disability that affects truly affects in a very significant way the quality of life in at least one major area of life. It can be at work, it can be leisure, it can be you know, at home, etc. And please note that when we're talking about accessibility, as Caroline mentioned, in Israel we have 11% of population that are elderly. You know, I wish you all good health and live till 120, but guys, at the age of 99, we will all prefer to take the elevator or use the ramp and not walk up and down stairs. So again, the statistics, the people with disabilities that are included, the global statistics I can tell you is between 15% and 25%. In Israel, as I said, it's 18%, and that is the variation between the countries. Now, sorry. We have a problem with the presentation, if you can take it back backwards. Now, I must also mention to you terminology. When we're talking people with disabilities, when we are talking people with disabilities, you know, in the USA for years, they called them handicapped. Now, what is handicapped? Handicapped is a hand in the cap, because what can a person with disability do if not beg? This was the terminology used for many years. Today, the terminology is a person with disability. Don't say disabled, don't say crippled, and I'm sure you have your definition of this terminology in your language. But in Israel, I can tell you the law itself changed. And today the law is not talking about the disabled, but rather the person with disability, putting the focus on the people themselves. Now, what is accessibility? The legal definition of accessibility is being able to reach a place and enter it, being able to receive services, and being able to use a product. And to do all this with dignity, with respect, as equals, with maximum level of independence. this is the definition by law. And I see people taking photographs. Will be more than happy to pass this presentation on to you and the translation of the law. The idea is, think about it. Accessibility, many people think only the physical accessibility, only about people in wheelchairs, for example. But think about it. A blind person does not need a ramp. A blind person does not need an elevator necessarily. But if a blind person wants to order food from, the pizza place and the website is not accessible, he won't be able to do it. Or if a deaf person, a person with hearing disability, will want to come and get service from your shop, and the person does not know how to communicate with a person with hearing disability, they won't be able to be treated as equals and have accessible service there. So accessibility is something that is very wide. It includes the physical aspects. And here I must tell you that physical accessibility is a sequence. You have to make sure that everything is accessible in order to allow true inclusion, because it's enough that everything is accessible, except you don't have parking space for the disabled. And that's it. People that need parking space will not be able to use and enjoy the accessibility that you have committed yourself to. So the physical accessibility is the sequence. The second type of accessibility, as I said, is the services, the usability, as they call it at the UN. It's not enough to be able to enter a building or to enter a store or to enter a business. The question is, what do you do once you're there? Accessibility means that you will be able to do like everybody else. And if that place has a kiosk, for example, for information, or has any other product that you use in order to get the service, that has to be accessible also. I can tell you in Israel, in the last several years, all banks have accessible ATMs. I will open a parenthesis and say, the problem is, it turns out that many of the blind were not aware of it because they can't see it and it wasn't published enough. So banks really put in a lot of efforts and money in creating those accessible ATMs, but they said not a lot of blind people use it. So accessibility is not just doing, but also telling the story, publishing it. And we will talk about that later. I'm having a problem with the presentation. If you can just click, thank you. To the next slide. Now, in Israeli law, we have what we call equality law. That is like an umbrella law saying, guess what? People with disabilities have rights. That is something that was established, legislated in 1999. And basically it says that every ministry has to do regulations that are specific to that ministry. For example, Ministry of Health, regulations on accessible health. Ministry of Education, regulations on accessible education. And what is very unique in Israel, because we are traveling the world and we see all kinds of other places, the law in Israel and the requirements in Israel are relevant to everybody, not just the public sector, but the private sector, the public sector, everybody, NGOs, everybody has to be accessible when they're providing services to the public. And of course, there's the other layer of standards, which is basically the little fine-tuning accessibility standards on how to do things, what the height of the table should be, what the width of the chair should be, et cetera, et cetera. Now, we have recognized in Israel 3 types of organizations, basically. There are those organizations, and I'm sure many of you here answer to that definition, who understands the potential, understand the importance, and really implement the saying an accessible business is a more profitable one. There are those who do the bare necessities. They do it just, to check the box. It's mandatory, we'll do the minimum possible. And you know what? In those cases, usually without enforcement, nothing really moves. And the third companies are those who truly cannot. They need extra funding, they need exemptions, they need easing the requirements. If you're in a building that is not engineer-wise, is not possible to turn into an accessible one, this is something we need to take into account. It's not that we say black and white and that's it. You have to make sure that the law is taking this into consideration. Now, to sum this up, the uniqueness of the Israeli law, and this is something very unique, we haven't seen it anywhere, is first of all, in Israeli law, every service provider every year has to undergo accessible training services, meaning you have to train your service providers every year on how to provide accessible service to your customers. Not only that, but at least once in the lifetime of the service provider, they have to undergo experiential activities. And we will go over that in a second. Another unique thing in Israel is that our legislation has teeth. It's not just a law with declarations. If you don't do it, you can get fined, you can get criminal accounts, etc., etc. In Israel, we have every company has to have, that has more than 25 employees and provides service to the public, to the general public, has to have a coordinator in the organization that is the go-to guy on whatever has to do with accessibility. When customers have questions, want demands, have problems, this is the guy they have to turn to. And usually in the organizations, they turn to that guy for also guidance, etc. In Israel also, we have a profession that is both accessibility profession that is both physical, and we have a different one that has to deal with the services. And according to Israeli law, you have to have those professionals sign any authorization saying that you are intact and you are abiding by law. And finally, in Israel, the accessibility is not just in major cities, but it's a country level accessibility. Again, let's be realistic, guys. I'm sitting here talking about what has been done, talking about what we do. There's still a lot to do. It doesn't mean that every service provider does do training. It doesn't mean that every city in Israel is accessible, but we are on the way. We are on the path. Still a lot to do, but we're getting there. Now, when we're talking about service accessibility, it is important to see this sun. And for whoever does not see this, basically we have the person with disability and the elderly, the customer in the middle, and all the services, all the places where your business comes together with the customer is part of the accessibility service, whether it's the physical, the technologies, the events you do. And I would like to, I will elaborate in a second about the training, the websites. Today in the pandemic, we see that more and more people are using the websites, applications to be in communication, to purchase things, to learn things, etc. If those websites are not accessible, then blind people cannot use it, and deaf people cannot use it, and people with a disability in their hands cannot use it, etc., etc. When we're talking about call centers, more and more have been using the call centers. They try to use a phone call, but not everybody can use the phone call. So what do? Do we have alternatives? Can we use a fax? Can we use SMSs? Can we use chats, etc., etc.? And of course, all the information and advertising. I'm reminding you, the blind people in the ATMs, it's great that you are doing things for accessibility. If you don't publish it, it's as if it's not done. People with disabilities are really tired of being expectful and then disappointed. So until you tell them, we're here for you, we're open, we're accessible, we thought of your needs, they will not be there. Now, the methodology that Access Israel has established throughout the years and was adopted into legislation is basically taking the human factor in your organizations and turning them to the human ramp. I can tell you that in one of the companies, it was a gas station, they did really everything and they wanted everything to be perfect and accessible. But then the cleaning lady once came and decided she wants to really clean behind the refrigerator of the cold drinks. And when she put the refrigerator back, she didn't put it exactly in the right spot. And all of a sudden, the door that was designed to be accessible and be open by a person in a wheelchair easily, it got stuck and people in wheelchairs could not come freely. Now, this is an example of money that was spent, of thoughts that were given. It was supposed to be accessible, and all of a sudden, a little overlook made it inaccessible. The human factor, once they see it, once they understand it, once they are aware, they can be the ones making the ramp, taking themselves and noticing, changing, helping, assisting. In many cases, that does the whole difference. Now, the way we do it, and I will flow very quickly in this because I don't want to bear the time that I have, and I will be more than happy to answer any questions after this webinar. If you want more information, we'll be more than happy to give. This is the model Access Israel does in Israel and all over the world, the 4 pillars. Basically, in order to create a change in training, in not only training, but also, for example, in inclusive employment, it's not enough to have somebody with disability join your workforce. You have to make sure and prepare the people that are going to work alongside him, that they know how to communicate, how to talk. So the same training, the same model is relevant also for them. The first pillar is the knowledge. When you don't know something, you're afraid of it. You want to stay apart from it. Once you know about it, it is much easier to communicate and to feel more comfortable next to people with disabilities. The second thing is getting to know the person behind the disability. Again, what we do, you know, I can sit here and talk, but in our trainings, we always bring people with disabilities, not just one, not just two, several disabilities, in order to show the different variety, the needs and requests of various disabilities. But even that knowledge and getting to know the people is not enough. We believe that it's not just talking the talk, it's walking the walk, really experiencing. And this is the third pillar. We are called the crazy Israelis around the world, taking this non-sexy, non-attractive subject and having people stand in line in order to experience disability. Have you ever woken up in the morning and said, I wonder how it is to be blind. I'm going to go to Access Israel and really try this. Well, people are doing it, and it is causing an effect. It is causing a change. And once you have that combination of knowledge, getting to know the person, the experience, we give the fourth pillar, and that is the power to change. Whether you're a first grade student or the CEO of the largest bank in Myanmar, you can make a difference. And this is part of the 4 pillars. Now, inclusion is a word that has been overused. At first, we used it for disability, but today inclusion is used for any, including all parts of life, all parts of society. Of course, when we're using it, we are focusing on inclusion for people with disabilities. But I love this quote that I found. I got posted in one of my friends' Facebook, and I'll just read it to you for whoever does not read. And I think this is the gist of inclusion. Accessibility is being able to get into a building. Diversity is getting invited to the table. Inclusion is having a voice at the table. Belonging is having your voice heard at the table. So if we have to remind ourselves sometimes what our goal is, what we are aiming at, this is it. Now, last slide, inclusive employment. I'm just putting it really in bullet points, and it goes back to what Vicky said and what Caroline said. The first thing in inclusive employment is don't do it just to check the box. If it doesn't really come from the understanding that it is the right thing to do, not just because it's mandatory by law, it's probably not going to really work. It is very important to understand why you're doing it and do it all the way from the top, so everybody in the company will understand the goal and the issue here. True commitment. And that will make sure that once you understand the true commitment to this, to accessibility in general and to inclusive employment, that is the way you can have a successful and a profitable business. Now, I must tell you that in one of the international webinar conferences we attended, one of the companies, I think it was Amazon, was talking about a big launch they did to one of their products. They upgraded one of their current products, and they put in a lot of money in marketing the new product. And once the product hit the website and people started going into it, it turned out that the upgrade basically ruined the accessibility for people with hearing disabilities. The new thing was not better, it was worse. And they had to take it back and take it into a new development, a new changing it, put in a lot of money in doing that, and a lot of money in relaunching it later. And they understood later that if they would have had people with disability in the whole process, that would have made a change. And I think that that is one of the things of inclusive workforce. I didn't mention it, but I can tell you that more than 50% of my employees are people with all types of disability. I can tell you that the diversity is something that challenges me every single day as a CEO and makes me a better one, makes me a better person and a better organization. As I said before, it's not enough to say we are adding people, employees with disability. It's not enough to plant the seeds. You have to make sure the soil in which they are planted is prepared with all the tools and with all the training and how to do it right. And lastly, COVID-19 has taken all of us to the remote employment. I can tell you this was good news for many people with mobility disability. Those who it's easier for them to work from home, all of a sudden could do it. And it wasn't a problem. It wasn't a challenge. However, think about those employees who cannot hear so well, hearing disabilities, visual disabilities. All of a sudden, all these Zooms and all these Microsoft Teams events are something that are very challenging. So when we are talking about remote employment, we have to make sure we're talking about accessible remote employment. Make sure that you describe what you're saying or the slides that you're showing. Make sure that you are attentive to the needs of the employees that you are including. And I will finish with one very short story. In one of the banks that we advised, there was, they included a person with hearing disability. And, we followed them and made sure that everything is okay. And at first it was. And then after a while, he said, listen, it's not really working. And we asked, why not? And they said, I don't know. Sometimes she does the job. Sometimes she doesn't do the job. We don't think it's somebody we can really trust. And we came in and started asking questions. And you know what it turns out? It turns out that her boss in the bank chews gum. Does like this. Now, can you try to think about a person with hearing disability that is trying to read lips while their boss is chewing gum? All of a sudden, when they chewed gum, the employee with hearing disability didn't really understand what was said. And she was afraid to say something. And so she was considered a bad employee. Luckily, we intervened, we gave the training, and I can tell you that she was promoted, I think, once or even twice in that bank, and she's doing quite well now, that the surrounding is prepared and ready to include her. Thank you very much. I hope that this was a little, terminology, getting everything straight. And after doing that, I am very, very happy, first of all, to answer questions afterwards and give you again all the information of the methodology Access Israel does. And I'm very happy to invite Maestro Nir Brand, who will do a little intermission here, but an accessible one. Nir, Maestro, please.
Good morning. You hear me? Hello, please wave if you can hear me. I'm very happy to be here. I'm talking to you from the heart of Tel Aviv, Israel. Good morning, Tel Aviv. Binglaba Yangon, Binglaba Myanmar. Thank you, Ambassador Gilor, for a very long cooperation, fruitful cooperation. Thank you, Embassy of Israel in Myanmar. And from my beloved Israel to beloved Myanmar, I'd like to dedicate this song, which is a special invitation by Ambassador Gilor, to all the children I met in my humanitarian tours in Asia, in Africa, and South America, children and people with disabilities. The famous conductor Sergio Celibidache said that when one ability is taken from you, other abilities step forward and take over. And let's say this song is dedicated to Johann Sebastian Bach, the famous composer who was blind at the end of his days. Let's say this song is dedicated to Ludwig van Beethoven, who started being deaf, losing his hearing when he was 30. Or Stevie Wonder, of course, or Ray Charles, or even Andrea Bocelli. And all of this is like an end-of-the-road song, please consider it like your winning formula. We all do it our way. I'm sure you do it your way. And now the end is near, and so I face the final curtain. My friends, I'll state clear, I'll state my case, of which I'm certain. I've lived a life that's full. I traveled each and every highway, but more, much more than this, I did it my way. Regrets, I've had a few, but then again, too few to mention. I did what I had to do and saw it through without exemption. I planned each charted course, each careful step along the byway, but more, much more than this, I did it my ways. Yes, there were times, I'm sure you knew, when I bit more than I could chew. When I bit more than I could chew. When I went through it all, when there was doubt, I ate it all and spit it out. I faced it all, and I stood tall, and did it my way. I've loved, I laughed and cried. I've had my fill, my share of losing. And now, as tears subside, I find it all so amusing to think I did it all. And may I say, not in a shy way. Oh no, 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 not me. I did it my way. For what is a man? What has he got? If not himself, then he has not to say the things he truly feels, and not a word of one who kneels. The record shows I took the blows and did it my way. The record shows I took the blows and did it my way.
Amazing. Thank you. And by the way,
Tel Aviv, Mingla Bayangon.
thank you so much. And by the way, guys, let's just move a little bit. Do you know how you clap your hands in sign language? Because you remember, if I do like this, people who are deaf will not see it. So the idea, I would love a picture now. Everybody do like this with your hands. And this is clapping hands to you, Maestro. Thank you so much. And Sharon, if you can take a picture of the view of everybody clapping their hands like this. And again, thank you very much. And you know, on this note, I want to say something. You know, when I joined Access Israel 13 years ago, I was under the impression we have to get the medical system and the welfare system accessible because that's what people with disability needs, right? No, people with disability wants to live their life like all of us. They want to go to concerts. They want to go to the movie. Well, today, nobody can go to concert. Nobody can go to the movie, but I'm talking about after COVID-19. The idea, guys, is that everything has to be accessible. And when Maestro Brand accepted our invitation to sing here, it was a great opportunity to stress to all of you in your employment area, you have events, you have for employees or for the public or for the customers, make sure you think about 100% of the customers, 100% of the employees. Let them enjoy, and thank you very much to the sign language interpretation. That was amazing. Thank you so much. Okay. Without further ado, we will move to our next session, success stories from Myanmar and from Israel. And I'm very, very proud to introduce our moderator who would lead this session, Dr. Sai T. Jun So. He is the research consultant on what are businesses currently doing on a standalone basis or with other DPOs to promote employment of people with disabilities. And in the panel, we're going to have Tonton Nayang from Blue Ocean Investment and chair of MICCI. And we will have O Ung Chot Kin. And again, I apologize if something in my pronunciation is not good. Remember, my name is Michal. In some areas of the world, it is not possible to pronounce that. So I understand you totally. O Ung Chot Kin is the Director of Human Resources in the Shangri-La Yangon. And we have all the way from Israel, Iris Kiryati Moyal from Intel Company. So please, Dr. Saiti Chon Su, please.
Before I pass it to Dr. Saichi, just to correct that Dr. Aung San Suu Kyi is the founder of Strategy First University, just to clarify.
Thank you very much. Sorry for that.
Okay, thank you, Mika. And thank you, Maya, for making correction. So we just had a very inspirational moment and very insightful and very enlightened session previously. So I'm not taking much time. So I'm gonna take it to Tonton Nai, which he has been involved in a disability inclusion movement for quite a long time, and he has been very supportive to the community, and he's been helping a lot with the government as well as the business community to become inclusive society. So Tonton Nai, could you explain what you have been doing on a disability inclusion agenda? And the most important thing to explain about is what inspired and what motivates you to be inclusive business leader in Myanmar.
Thank you, Dr. Sai. So thank you for organizing this event for ambassadors and then the SSA's race. So this is a wonderful event and this is all benefit for Myanmar people. So I'm very appreciated and very honored to be part of panelists today. So as moderators already introduced me, because my company is Blue Ocean Operating Management. So we are the first and the largest the call centers in Myanmar. So actually I like to join 500 value the company, but unfortunately it must be 1,000 people. So I only have 500 people. So maybe I will try another 500 to employ and going to join this company. Okay, so I started my companies in 2009. So my background with the ICT company. So it's 2009 as a small company. Is 2011 I set up the call center, which is the first call center in Myanmar. So the first employee I start with 100 people. It's not very much. So what I see in the community is, especially in Yangon, is looking around, all the disabled peoples are moving around and they are, and employ. So this is what I seen from, is when we are the childhood, but nobody is taking care. But what I noticed that is somebody's, is communicate to me through the email. So he was the graduated and he didn't get the job. I said, why you didn't get the job? I said, nobody employed me. Why nobody's employ you? So I called him for interview. He was, I forgot his name. He was my first employee in call center. And then he said, I'm disabled. But don't say disabled. What you can do, I can type the computer. I can answer the phone. Okay, so I said, maybe can you promise me to work at least 6 months or year? I said, I'd lovely to promise. So I said, he is my first, the person with the disability and employed in 2011. So he was very, very, is a hardworking person, and he learned a lot. And, is the thing is he can do much better than a normal person. So I realized it. So they are capable. They actually, people think that they are not capable. Actually, they are more capable. They have more passionate about the job. So that's why, is one of my inspiring. Hey, is came up from my mind is why don't we hire more disability peoples in my organization? And this is one thing is I can create the job for them. So I contact to there is Ministry of Social Welfare. There is a rehabilitation center near in 8 Mile. So I contacted. So another organization, they have the NGOs organizations, they working for the disabled people. So I contacted to the few association. Hey, I need more people, and I will employ. And then if they don't have any knowledge of computer, also no problems. We can teach them the computer. So I start employee up to 5 to 7% of total employee in the beginning. So I keep on continue. And then in 2014, I said in my HR policy that is at least you have to keep minimum 2% to 5% of the total employee with the disabled people. This is only for the employee that I employ. But another thing I did is because we are providing the telecommunication service to the value-added service to the all mobile operator. So I met with one blind guy. So, sir, what are you doing? I'm providing SMS service for information. I love to subscribe your service, but I'm blind. I cannot read your message. So I realized it's okay. So I will do another value-added service with the voice. So luckily, all the BBC, VOA, all the radio stations, is partners with me. So in the morning, 8 a.m., I blasted all the news with the voice, recording with the voice. So especially, it's all disabled, all the blind people, or they can read all my news, and they can know update information about business. They can know update information about weather, focus. Even they can know how is fortune telling what. So I'm very happy, and then I'm enjoying too much. Is meeting with the people. And then one of the success story is this guy. He was blind, and he worked with me until 4 years, and he became a master. He got a master's degree, and he became one of the network technicians. So this is my story. Thank you very much, Dr. Sain. Yes.
Thank you. And could you also explain a little more what motivates you to get in touch with people with disabilities, especially to employ them into your company? What inspires you?
So actually, the first time is I pity them. So is they need more job. So the second thing is more in thing is if I after an employee, so I found that is more productivity in my business. So as the businessman, this is one of the motivation. They can do more productive than a normal person. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Coach Nonai. So
thank you.
As we were hearing about the global dynamic of people with disabilities around the world, we have about a very huge number, 1.5 billion people. And also in our country, we have about 2.3 million people. And among them, you could understand that 85% of them don't have the job. And 54% do not have access to vocational trainings. And 53% do not have an employment opportunity. Like you mentioned, nobody would want to give them an interview. Let's forget about employing them. So what are you at the moment doing to recruit more people into your businesses and giving them opportunity, especially to learn or to give a training? What kind of activities do you initiate within your Blue Ocean company? Could you explain a little bit about that?
Okay. Actually, the first thing, so I have to inform my HR, and then the HR is quite shocked. And also, second thing is, is other employees are there. Is in Myanmar, people are a little bit discriminate people. So I said, okay, these people are, is like normal people. They are like the same salary, the same ranking with you. And then I think it's a few months later, they get along with all these people. And then, and the thirdly, what I have to do is all accessible, or if they go to the toilet, is maybe, is for the blind people. So I have to make all assessment, change their computer's keyboard, voice recognition, etc. So this is, I have to do all of for them. Yeah.
Thank you very much again. So I'm going to move on to the next speaker. So he is also the pioneer, especially in the education industry. And he's also known for his very charming marketing strategy and skills. So his name is Uong Chik-Hin, the chairman and the founder, the president and the founder of Strategy First University. So Mr. Uong Chik-Hin, could you explain a little bit about yourself and what you have been doing in terms of disability inclusion with your education institution?
Thank you, Dr. Sai. It's been a wonderful learning experience for me. I found out how uneducated I am about disability and accessibility. Mikhail's presentation was just amazing. And I feel like I'm very ashamed that I'm leading this educational institution, not knowing all these things. But to tell you a bit about myself, I started this Strategy First University, one of the private educational institutions in Myanmar, higher educational institutions in Myanmar, 10 years ago. And when COVID hit, we started this Strategy First University Extension online learning programs. So the motto and the core value that we founded this SFUX is on the premise that it's going to offer inclusive education. So when I was thinking of inclusive education, I was focusing more on income disparity and people living in remote locations, in villages, because we focus on business education. And when I was offering courses in Chin State, which was like the poorest state in Myanmar, people were really happy to learn all these things. So I thought we would be giving a chance. And at the same time, I also thought of people with disability who couldn't commute or easily, and then they would be able to learn as well. Then one of my students, he was Gao Mya-Heng. He's in this undergraduate program. He's in one of the business undergraduate program, and he was very insistent that we make some courses for people with hearing disability. So, and he himself is deaf, so he always bring along a sign language interpreter to the rooms, to the classrooms. But then when COVID hit and he couldn't we make these pre-recorded videos for the students to learn, and he couldn't understand them, he couldn't hear them. So, and he couldn't have access to the interpreter. So now he has him on Zoom. So he requested us to do subtitling for them. And that's when we got the idea, like one of our students, Ma Yi, I think she's part of the Myanmar Association for the Blind. And so she's one of the leaders, women leaders there. She took she took a class with us. She finished a diploma. And yeah, she was just inspirational. And she's also running her own tourism company. And now she's running an online shopping business. So we thought of this opportunity to reach out and to people with disability, especially visual and hearing people with visual and hearing disability. So now what we're doing is we have offered scholarships to people with in cooperation with the Myanmar Association of the Blind, and so 75 students are attending diploma in business management and entrepreneurship. So I think that's one area we should also look at. Entrepreneurship is like Mai Yin, they sometimes they can be self-employed as well. So they have very different ideas that because they see the world in a different way, and they know what people with disability need. So in addition to thinking about having a diverse workforce, we can also encourage them. And I think by offering these courses, we also improve their employability as well. And for the people with hearing disability, we are doing subtitles. So Myanmar language subtitling is quite difficult. It has to be like we typed up. We don't have any software to automate the system, so we have to type it up. So what we do is we recruit volunteers. We pay them tuition credits so they can get scholarships after they finish like. For example, like if they finish typing up for a 45-minute video and they get a scholarship credit for about $12 worth. So then if they do like an hour and a half, then they can get like a free course. So it's good for them as well. And we have finished about we're finishing about 2 courses. So we should be able to start offering them for people with hearing disabilities starting next month. But I know, like hearing your talks, we know that we have a long way to go, and this is very enlightening. So what I've planned to do is include include this accessibility and disability module in our business ethics and sustainability module. So we will start teaching about what you have discussed, and we will put it in our curriculum. So a lot more people will be informed, and especially business decision makers. So I'm very sorry, I am not very well informed about this whole thing. I'm not like an expert. I was just motivated by these students who were very keen on providing accessibility to different people. So thank you very much. And I don't have a PhD, so please don't, I'm not a doctor yet.
Okay, thank you very much, Wang Chekin. So it's all about leadership commitment, right? So in the beginning, we heard about the full commitment of the business leaders and things like that. So you are here at the webinar at the right time, at the right session. So you've been motivated, you've been educated. So what I'm thinking at the moment is, in terms of giving them opportunity, especially for getting diplomas in business management, stuff like that. So do you have any sort of bridging courses for them? Especially if you look at the statistic, we know that 80% of people with disabilities do not have education or never been enrolled to any school in this country, according to 2012 research. And recently, with the 2016 UNICEF research, it's been reported that 77% of children with disabilities do not have access to primary school. So it's possible that most of the people who wanting to become a business person, let's say entrepreneur, would probably they might not have the required education criteria. So what would be your mitigation to bridge that gap?
Thank you very much for asking that question. I forgot to mention a big part of what I do. I'm also running this online learning platform called Wazo Learn. Wazo Learn is for basic education students, grade kindergarten to grade 12. So it's very similar to SFUX. It's all video-based learning. The reason that we developed this is because in remote areas, we don't have enough teachers to teach, especially science subjects and subjects that are taught in English. So we developed this platform just about 5 months ago. And we have now talked to the Myanmar Association of the Blind. And also we're trying to reach out to the Association of the Deaf People. So then we should provide the similar scholarship and accessibility to children as well. And those who didn't have an opportunity to study, go through a formal education. So the good thing is all the courses are there, all the lessons are recorded. So either if they have physical disability or any sorts of disability, they can pace the lectures on their own. Although we do not provide accreditation or certifications, but we are now working with Myanmar Ministry of Education as well. So we are giving teachers access, charity schools access, free access, so that they can use the materials to better provide, services. So I think that what you asked will be filled, the gap will be filled by that side of that business as well. So we're creating this opportunity on both platforms. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So as we're being learning about the disability inclusion in Myanmar, as Mikhail was saying, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. And as for our country and most of us, it's the very beginning stage. And I'm happy that you are motivated by the webinar and all of the talks previously heard about. So I'm coming back to Nicole. So it would be better to open up for questions and answers so that most of the people could engage for the
One second,
rest of the time.
we have Iris from Intel.
Oh, Iris.
Yes.
So I'm going to invite Mr. Iris from Intel. Could you introduce yourself and explain a little bit about what Intel has been doing in terms of including people with disabilities in business?
So good morning or good afternoon, everybody. As said, I'm Iris. I'm working for Intel for the last 15 years. Actually, before that, I was working for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and hence I have a special place in my heart for the ministry and for our diplomats in the embassy. So thank you, Ambassador Gil-Or, and thank you, Access Israel, for inviting me to this session. I'm a part of the Human Resource Department. I've been doing a lot of different roles. And in the 5 last years, I'm the responsible for inclusive employment of people with disabilities. Now, Intel is a business. Intel is a big corporation. And although we do, as a company, we do a lot of things under corporate responsibilities, our strategy with diversity and inclusion is not under corporate and responsibility. This is part of our business strategy because we understand that teams that are more diverse are more creative, innovative, and bring solutions, more to more problems in a timely manner. So this is a business strategy why we should have diverse team, and including within this diverse team, people with disabilities, of course. So this is a corporate strategy. I don't know if anyone here, we have our 2030 goals that announced by our CEO, Bob Swan, which include reference to having 10% of our employees as people with disabilities. This is something that we're working corporate-wide in the different geos that Intel is based in. In Intel Israel, we follow the corporate direction, of course, but we also find the uniqueness in the local, opportunities and challenges. And if that's okay, I would like to share a very short presentation to share some of these materials. Just let me know if you see my screen.
Yep. It's on.
Great. Part of our diversity and inclusion vision is for Intel to be leading in the industry a diverse talent workforce, achieving representation across the organization, different levels, while driving inclusive culture, behavior, and practices. And we strive to create workplace that reflect the communities, and I will speak shortly about the different communities that we have in Israel, and where everyone feels empowered to bring their full authentic self to work. Because, only employees that bring their full self with all their skills, talent, experience, and passionate will be a great employee. So again, just on a minor scale, we have many communities in Israel. We have WIN, which is the Women in Israel. We have iGlobe. We have the Arab community. We have IDAN, which is Intel Disability and Accessibility Network. And we have some others that we are working. But I'd like to focus about what I came here to present is employees with disability. So we are looking on a full range of activities, both internal and external, for the different level of organizations which contribute to being an inclusive company. And I must say, as you know, all the speakers before me comment, it's a journey. I don't know if it's a sprint or a marathon, but it's a journey. Intel Israel is a reflection of the overall society in Israel, and we have some of the same challenges as we have out of the company. So the people that are working in Intel are part of the society, and we need to manage, and make our work with everybody. So we have started to build this strategy and annual program with looking at different pillars. One of them is the accessibility of the hiring process, making sure that every employee or every candidate, should I say, that have a disability, if he states this disability in advance, he can have an accessible process, meaning that he can have an accessible interview, accessible appreciation center if he's going to, and then if he's getting a job offer according to his skills and experience, that he will have an accessible conditions, either it's physical or the knowledge of the team and the manager how to work with the specific individual. The other thing which I think is critical, and this is awareness of managers and other employees. I want to say that, one of the critical success factors is management accountability. If you have your management accountable and looking to get deliverables and educating the managers, senior management, and then mid managers, and then first line managers, then you're in the right direction. You need to make sure that the management, the senior management, CEO, president, wherever in Israel or on the corporate level, are aware of the advantages of employing a diverse population, and within that, people with disabilities. Now, the other pillar, as you can see here, is IDAN, which is our Disability and Accessibility Network. This is a community of employees with disabilities or who are family members for people with disabilities, either parents or other family members, that are taking their own destiny of changing the culture, of getting the company to understand the special needs and adjustment required, and making a lot of contribution to the company and to the awareness of the employees. So this is a critical item. We have done in many of the Intel sites across the world, not in all of them, I must say. In Israel, we have that in the last 1.5 years, and this is a great success. Employees taking their own fate, expressing what is needed for them and how we can be a better inclusive company. This is a great achievement. Still a lot to do, but I think this is a great step. The other pillar obviously is infrastructure, the buildings, you know, our website and everything. This is an ongoing process according to the Israeli law, and especially if we have a specific individual that need to accommodate his workstation or to get a specific equipment, we have people that are responsible for doing that. The last pillar is engagement with external stakeholders. So we are working with different NGOs that are doing employment of people with disabilities, looking for sourcing channels externally to get more talents that are fitting to our profile technology profile. So under each of these pillars, there are a lot of activities that the wider HR team, management, and the IDAN community is doing, which contribute as a whole to making our company as more inclusive and diverse. Just want to share with you a few examples. For example, just, you know, one picture is greater than 1,000 words. So this is, for example, a volunteering activity that IDAN did with an NGO to reveal for people with disabilities what options are there in high tech. When, you know, you can see that these are young people that before their academic studies, they are, you know, debating what they should learn. So we have done this event that revealed to them what are the options if you're going to learn these and these. Sorry for that. These topics in university, these are the positions that you can get to work in Intel Israel. This is one example. And the other one was another volunteering event towards Purim, which is something like Halloween, where the volunteers have created special customs for children in wheelchairs. Now, it's not just to share that we're doing that for the wider community out of Intel, because I think each volunteer like that is now an ambassador of employment people with disabilities within the company. As many people we are giving the opportunity to get aware of the challenges and the opportunities, we have a greater inclusive community. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Iris. I'm sorry, I was using a different sort of my mistake to say wrong gender to identify you previously. I was a bit of my mistake, sorry. So thank you very much for all of the panelists and explaining everything that you know to this very short period of webinar. It is very much insightful and very interesting, and I'm sure there's going to be a whole lot of questions building up on everybody's mind. But unfortunately, we don't have much of time left, and I've been informed that our ambassador has a question to ask to one of our panelists. So may I call upon Mr. Ambassador to raise a question?
Yes, thank you very much. Maybe as we would like to get the attention of everybody for the next webinar that we are going to do with Access Israel. And this webinar is going to be dedicated for technology on the service and to make people with disabilities much more accessible for working places and in life in general. I would like to ask whoever in the panel, maybe it's Cotton Tunaing or our great friend from Intel Israel, about what is the use of technology that you are now having in Myanmar or in Israel for the people with disabilities. Thank you very much.
Intel is the more advanced company, so they can share more experience than in Myanmar. Iris, you want to share the technologies part?
I can.
Iris, please, did you hear the question?
Do you hear me?
Yeah.
Sorry, I was saying that I'm not, I'm an HR person, so I'm a little familiar with the technology, but I cannot get to too many details. But I can say that, you know, all our products, software designers, product designers should go under accessibility training. This is part of the corporate training education, and hence we are making sure that all our products will be accessible and making sure that we are compliant with the requirements for people with disabilities.
Thank you. And I can also say that, my next final speaker is going to be Yuval Wagner, the head of Access Israel, the chairman of Access Israel, and he will talk exactly about that. But I would like to thank the panelists, Dr. Sai T. John So. Really, thank you very much. And I have to say something to you all, and specifically to Uong Chotkin. Again, sorry if my pronunciation is not good. You shouldn't be ashamed. First of all, I must say that your presentation and everybody else's presentation, guys, the mere fact you are here, you are talking, you are sharing, you are aware, you are sensitive, you are willing to open up. I can tell you, and you know, between friends, between us only, I can tell you that while I'm sitting here and telling you about the achievements and what has been done in Israel, when I come back to Israel and talk to them, I come and say, guys, we're not doing this and we're not doing this and we still have to change other things. This is work in process. And many things, the fact, you know, some of the examples you gave, Oong Chotkin, I don't know if to say just Oong is okay. So some of the examples you gave, I would love to connect you to universities and places in Israel that aren't doing that so well. So again, the idea is to really share and learn from each other. And I really, really thank you and appreciate you being here. And I'm looking forward to see the ripple effect. What is going to happen following this? And because we have, you know, each one has their own disability, and mine is, you know, being time aware. I'm very bad with time, and our webinar is a little longer than we thought, but I'm very happy to introduce, as I said, the last speaker, and then I will just say some closing statement. And maybe Dofyon Kati 9, if you will have a couple of words, closing statement to say, I would love to hear what your thoughts on this webinar is. So Yuval Wagner, the chairman.
Michal, she has already left us. So,
she left us.
She's not with us anymore.
Okay.
So we have Yuval now, yes.
Perfect. So Yuval Wagner, please.
Hi, everyone. It's an honor to have this event with all of you. And I want to share with you a few thoughts. As you know, as Michal told you, I myself was wounded and I'm sitting on a wheelchair and I'm paralyzed neck down. And after I was wounded, I was actually offered to go back and continue to work. And the guy that asked me to continue to work was actually the manager of the unit where I served. But why I'm saying that, because I think two things you should bear in mind if you are interested in this issue of accessibility and inclusion and employment. And the two things is that one, it's all about managements. If you as managers will decide that it's good for your business, that this is what you want to do, you want to do it for your business, and I would add, and also for your community. So you have to make sure that the basic idea that it's good both for the business and it's also a social act. But if you will truly believe it, it will happen. And if you are not certain that it's the right thing, what I would suggest for you, learn it, study it, make sure that you truly understand it and make sure you understand it and you believe it. And as you saw from the speakers that shared their success stories, they all believe in it, that it's good for their business, it's good for making your services better, it's good for making your business and services target 100% of your potential clients. And it's actually, from my experience, make your inside employers and a working environment better. And I would share you a short story that happened in one of the businesses in Israel. Two short stories. One is a story where a company hired a woman with a wheelchair, sitting on a wheelchair. And, in day one, he makes sure you have a parking place and a ramp to go on the steps and a accessible toilet and an accessible table. That's all he needed to do. Now, he didn't imagine what the effect will be, but this woman was excellent. She was the best worker in the company. She volunteered to everything. She was dominant. She was excellent. She was dream true. And the effect of that was dramatic because all the workers saw this woman on a wheelchair, doing everything, never complaining, doing, volunteering, doing everything the best. So he's saying to others that what he learned from that all the other workers, seeing her abilities, not her disability, her abilities have made all his company much, much better. So this is the way he learned that he should hire because it's good for him. It's actually made his business better. Second short story is about a company that decided to employ 10% of their employees with hearing disabilities. To do that, they trained all the workers to learn sign language. So when he started employing people with hearing disabilities, everyone was ready for that. They trained everyone to speak their language, the language of sign language. And what that had done, it was a very successful project. But what happened extra is that the communication between all the workers got much better and much stronger. People were connecting each other in the organization in a much better level. So after a while, what happened, they didn't even have to speak sign language. they could read the faces and gestures. And so there were a much better inside communicating with each other, and that improved too the business. So this is another unique story, and they have a lot of stories of how employing people with disabilities make better. And the last thing that I want to share with you that I was asked is about technologies. Technologies definitely can make things better, can improve the potential of employing people with disabilities. But there is a big but to that issue. For example, if I don't have transportation to reach work and I can work from home, amazing. But the but is, do we have internet at everyone's home? Do we have a home environment that enables you to work from home? So, but if you can, it's amazing. During this COVID-19, where many working places were done by remote, done by working from home, remotely from home, we found out, for example, that many companies that are employing people with vision disabilities and hearing disabilities, they couldn't have them employed from home because they don't have automatic sign language or automatic captions in their local language. So technology that should be enabling employing people from remote actually were not accessible enough to make it happen. So on one hand, accessible technologies are a must in order to employ people with disabilities. And it's something that is being promoted and being enabled more and more around the world. But on the other one, it can be a barrier, exactly like the physical barriers that they have. But looking forward, we believe that the solutions will enable more and more people with disabilities to actually be very effective and give their full potential as employees to the workplace, to the business. So I want to say that be brave, don't be afraid, study it, believe it, and do it. Good luck.
Thank you very much, Yuval. Always an inspiration to me. And I must say that among the crowd here, even, we already have some technologies represented. And because we are talking about employment, I will just mention, I think you can look at the chat or at the list. Maya Huber here is from an Israeli technology called Skillset that found a way to have accessibility of the process of evaluating whether you are fit for a certain position in a company. Unfortunately, we don't have time to hear more, Maya, from you. Maybe in the next webinar when we have technology, but I'm sure you can put in the chat here for everyone, you know, a link to your website. The idea is things are happening around the world, in Israel, and I'm sure in Myanmar. We just need to know about it, to put it on the table, and this is what we did here today. So on that note, I would first of all like to really thank everybody. First of all 70 of you that are still here, even though we are running late, and the more than 85 that were present throughout. This is a great number for me because it's a great start. And I'm looking forward to our next, this is just the first step. The next webinar, as Ambassador Gilot said, will be in December, focusing on technologies. I'm also going to invite you to join us at our Access Israel Network community. And we have another webinar on December 8th on trend making and raising awareness. You will all receive invitation to that. If you want to sign in, please do. It's an international family getting together and talking from all over the world about things that are important to talk about. So I would like to, again, thank you all for being here. This is a great first or second step And I am very optimistic towards the future. We are here to learn from you and help you in what we already know. So looking forward to the continuation. Ambassador Gillot, thank you very much. And thank you to everybody who made this possible. Ambassador Gillot, you want to say something to close this, or?
I believe that all I would like to say is thank you very much, Michal, and Access Israel, and all the partners in Myanmar. It's just the beginning of this journey. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you very much, His Excellency and others. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
This is my favorite part.
I asked you, Reference. I asked you, Reference.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye. Chị Dung nhai tim bài nó alo. Chị Dung nhai tim bài chị.
Justemare.
Welcome, welcome.
Thank you, Maya.
Thank you, Mehan.
Thank
Hope
you.
to see you again, all.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Set trao nhận mà December là bài Shime.
Okay. Okay. Yes,
I'm
yes.
Hope to see you all again. Bye-bye.